Welcome back to my whiskey pick of the week. You know I'm Eric the Whiskey Guy, and as always, as usual, and as expected, am I bringing you a treat this week? Yes, ladies and gentlemen, this week we're going to be trying the Green River Kentucky Straight Bourbon. Am I excited. Now, Green River Bourbon is not your typical household name, but it started back around 1885. The company is one of the oldest / newest companies in the industry, and I'm gonna kind of explain. Now, from 1885 to 2016, they've been off and on. They probably went out of business about 15 times since 1885. They have went out of business. Now their claim of fame came around 1915. They had a nice little catchy slogan for their advertisement: the whiskey with no headaches. Now, they should have changed it, or they had no choice, but they changed it 3 years later to the new slogan, the whiskey without a home, because the whole distillery burnt down. They lost over 40,000 barrels like within 3 hours. So this is probably one of the most unluckiest brands in the history of whiskey. Now, you think like around 1918 that, they probably knew Prohibition was coming. No, that ain't happened to 2 years later, so you can't use that. But let's say it burnt down. Obviously Prohibition started in 1920. So let's say they crossed all their T's, dotted all their I's. They did everything by the books. They had full coverage insurance. They going through the insurance process, and right when they think they're gonna get a payout for a new building, get reimbursed for the 40,000 barrels they lost, they get a phone call or a telegram or probably in person. The insurance company says, "Oh, sorry, we can't cover you anymore because your business is technically illegal." That would be, oh my goodness. You did everything right to come to find out you get zero because it's illegal because of Prohibition. When I say it's probably one of the most unluckiest brands, I truly mean it. I truly mean it. Now, they did try to bounce back after Prohibition. They restarted back around 1933. They tried to hang in there for about 20 years, and then they couldn't bounce back. They couldn't bounce back. And between 1955 and let's say the early 90s, they changed hands. The company changed hands more than a fake dollar bill. But they kind of, to their defense, in the early, the late 80s, early 90s, they had an unexpected, let's say, competition for the namesake. And I'm not saying another whiskey brand came in and took their name. Nope. A serial killer in the Northwest Pacific region, I believe, somewhere in Washington, a serial killer dominated the name Green River. You had the Green River Killer. Yes, his full name, I believe, is Gary Ridgway, a little creepy little guy. And to be honest, that's probably one of the reasons why I haven't really tried it yet. Every time I seen it in the store, I'm like, oh, that's the Green River Killer. I can't be sipping on that. And he a little creepy little dude too. He look like the little the little pastor off The Simpsons with the mustache. Imagine him with a baby face. That's Gary Ridgway. So this company has had their, I'm not even gonna say they had their peaks. They had their valleys. They had their ditches. They had their they had their potholes. And 2016 is a new brand, new number. Who's this? They are trying to revamp themselves. So I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt and say that this is 20. They started back in 2016. I believe they hit the shelf like around 2022. So this is a brand new company. All the history, the timeline, let's throw that out the window and let's give them a shot. As of now, I like the bottle. It kind of got a good grip on it. If you look at it, it's kind of like a little horseshoe. It's like it. I like bottles that it feels like you're shaking somebody's hand. And they got one like this. Another one, I want to say the Knob Creek. Yeah, I know water, but the Knob Creek, the single barrel, the barrel select, that got a nice little grip on that bottle. So I kind of like that. That's kind of stuff that kind of gives a check mark to if I want to try it or not. So let's just dive on in, Green River style. Now I believe it's a 90 proof. Yeah, it's a 90 proof. It's gonna be in your average range, about $30. I don't think right now they just happy to be in the pool, so they gonna stay by the steps. They not going to the deep end, so you're gonna catch it around $30. They don't wanna scare people off. They know that's a reasonable price, so it's your average. Oh, it got that Kentucky bourbon smell to it. Oh, this is a good pour. This is a good pour. This is smooth, but it still got a subtle bourbon bite to it. It tastes like it's a higher proof than a 90. This tastes like it'll be like a 97, 98. But this is good bourbon. You do not sleep on the Green River. Do not sleep. Literally, do not sleep on these people. I have to give it I give this a good solid 8, leaning on an 8.5. The Green River, I believe they got like 3 more. I know they got a rye that kind of caught my eye at the store. But this is a good bottle. This is one of those bottles that if you go down the whiskey aisle, you see it every time. But it's also one of those bottles that you see it, you kind of make a mental note to put it on your list, and then a week later you forget about it, and you go to the store and you already got your mind set on something else, and you see it and be like, oh man, I forgot. So I'm kind of glad that I went on ahead and grabbed it. I love doing history, so I thought it was kind of unique to see where they started, the journey to get them here. But this is definitely a new me. What the kids say this is a big glow up, because this is some good whiskey. I see why the slogan was a whiskey without a headache, because it's smooth, but it's still got that bourbon. It's still got that bourbon feel when it go down your throat. And now that I'm thinking about it, like back in 1915, that was good advertisement. A whiskey without the headaches, because they had a lot of rock gut, they had a lot of dog water back then. And in those days, imagine like a doctor. A doctor, he done went to school for probably 8+ years. He see that in the newspaper. The first thing he gonna do when he see a client that like whiskey, well, I recommend the Green River because it's the whiskey without a headache. You'll thank me later. write them a little prescription. Oh, go get this and make sure you get you some Green River. So I'm sure they had some good times. I'm sure they had some good years. You know, they just had to go through a lot. But hey, I recommend the Green River. This is Eric the Whiskey Guy. This is my pick for the week. We're gonna do it all again.